What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome or welcome back to the Polaroid podcast. This is season 3. We're back. It's been a long time. We actually did not post a full-length episode in all of 2025. Lots was going on. Lots of projects kind of getting off the ground. Lots of seeds being planted. But we're back 2026. One of my big goals was to get back going with this. And I just have so many people that I'm blessed to have kind of been connected through life, that I want y'all to kind of get more of their stories. So I'm actually sitting here with, one of many prolific high school quarterbacks that I blocked in front of. But I mean, Zach Geddes definitely takes the cake. No disrespect to Rob, no disrespect to Serm, Kitty, both great guys. I got Sermon on the podcast too. But Geddes, we did go to a bowl game, which is something that didn't happen since 2013 when they went undefeated and they won a bowl game. Phenomenal football player. And that's just his side job. You know what I'm saying? He ended up being a professional in the PLL, groundbreaking league. They won Breakthrough League of the Year in 2020, only growing by the year. 2024 All-Pro. I've said too much, but, Geddes, go ahead and introduce yourself to the podcast, man. This is episode 63.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, man. Really appreciate it. And, Mike and I went to high school together at Andover. I got to spend a year with him and, had the pleasure of getting to sit back and look pretty behind him while he was doing all the work. So I appreciate Mike for all of that. But Zach Geddes, and, as Mike said, I play professionally in the PLL for the Denver Outlaws, and pumped to be on, man. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Of course. Denver sports are on the up and up. I mean, you got Prime over there. You guys were just in the AFC Championship game despite Bo Nix's phantom injury, and the Outlaws, of course.
Exactly.
So I got a lot going on over there in Denver. Just like a lot of our guests, just kind of take me through your upbringing. I know you come from a decent size, like very athletic family. So just talk to me about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I grew up in Winchester, Massachusetts. Went to the middle school there, played, all types of sports growing up. I didn't, just play football or lacrosse. I was playing hockey, played basketball, soccer growing up, a ton of baseball as well. So I was kind of doing everything, and, had the privilege of going to Belmont Hill, after middle school, and, super lucky to get exposed to the culture there. It was a really, kind of disciplined sports culture, and played football and lacrosse for all 4 years there. During my time there, ended up committed to Georgetown to play lacrosse. Part of that was, hey, I just kind of started playing lacrosse in 7th, 8th grade, taking it seriously. I committed when I was in 9th grade. And so part of the deal was, hey, you got to develop a little bit more. It'd be great if you could take a post-grad year. And ended up going to Andover, where I met Mike, and we got to play football together there. And I got to watch him, throw a little bit in track as well, which was awesome to see. And, did a year at Andover, played lacrosse and football there, and then ended up at Georgetown and had a great run for 4 years there. So that's kind of the short story of the background there.
Yeah, thanks for taking me through that. Winchester, Mass, and Andover is one of those schools that has a lot of guys from like local towns, like Swampscott and like Natick and like just like tons of places. And then it just kind of becomes this melting pot. And so you hear about dudes before you see them. And it's interesting, like, even though I didn't know who you were, like, we knew a couple things about Belmont Hill. We knew you guys were, like you said, disciplined sports culture. Every sport we played y'all in before you got there, we were just getting that belt. I'll never forget my freshman year, freshman basketball, our guy Larson Tolo. I got to get Tolo on here, man, but Tolo was on our team. Like we had tons of, and he'll tell you about, we had tons of guys who were on our freshman basketball team, and we heard all these stories about, schools that would kind of, give us belt. And we ended up not playing, Fessenden. Fessenden had this kid at the time, Isaiah Mucius. He was like a 6'8", 8th grader, and we were all shaking in our boots to play him. Game gets snowed out. So we're like, all right, like we're not going to play anybody. And then Belmont Hill comes to town. And for a freshman team, they just looked, a little bit corn fed. And it was interesting because nobody was shocked on their side by what they was doing to us. We lost that game by 42. And it was one of my favorite games because I led the team in scoring. And that's all I cared about when I was like 14 years old. But kind of being from Massachusetts, it's interesting because there's a wide range of athletes, in my opinion, being, from New York. And I've just kind of seen like bird's eye view. Like you guys have your fair share of subpar athletes, like everyone on the planet. But there is like this like interesting cream of the crop, like, Chris Herron like echelon of athlete that's kind of existed in Massachusetts. So my question to you is, who is the best athlete that you remember competing with when you were growing up?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. I mean, there are a few guys that come to mind. I mean, you know, Pat Fryermuth, the kid who's on Penn State. He was a Brooks School guy. I mean, I remember one game he was a tight end all throughout his career. And they threw him in at quarterback. I think he had like 6 touchdowns. It was insane. I got to shout out Jake Bobo from Belmont Hill as well. One of my teammates just won a Super Bowl with the Seahawks. He's an unbelievable athlete and super underrated. And it's been awesome to watch his journey and watch him succeed and get to the NFL where probably no one thought he was going to be and now winning a Super Bowl. But the best kid though by far was AJ Dillon, now a running back on the Eagles, was on the Packers for a few years, went to BC. Pretty much every game we played Lawrence Academy, he was running for like 350 yards and 6 touchdowns. It was insane to watch. He just stood out. He was a man amongst boys. I mean, in all like in every factor of that phrase. Like it was impossible to stop him. But he was by far the best athlete I've ever played against. And there's one guy I will shout out growing up, Blake Gallagher, who went to St. Sebastian's and played at Northwestern football. I think he was on the Ravens practice squad as well. When we played Little League baseball against each other, the kid was like 6'1", 200 pounds as like a 12-year-old. Every single time he stepped up to the plate, hit a home run. But those kids really stick out, and all of them obviously went on to have some pretty insane careers, all played professionally in some capacity. So like you were saying, like, yeah, there's this group of kids, that are growing up in Massachusetts, and I think it gets underrated because they all spread out to different schools. Like each kid I named went to a different prep school in Massachusetts. Some of them, like, I think Blake and Bobo like are from the same town too. So, or sorry, not Blake. They're from like the same area basically, but it's interesting how it all works out in Mass and kind of goes under the radar because everyone just ends up spreading out at certain points.
Yeah, 100%. Like I'll definitely, I mean, I coach in Texas now. I played in Mass. I grew up in New York, and then I competed collegiately in DC. Like I'll definitely, go to bat for the caliber of, Massachusetts athlete, regardless of what anybody would want to say. And it's funny too, because like, again, you mentioned, AJ Dillon, like I remember he did a little track. We probably saw him at like 2 track meets. He was running like a 10-2. Like he's throwing 50 whatever and shot. Like I think he long jumped like 22 feet. Like you said, just like freak athlete. And it's funny you mentioned Jay Bobo. He was actually the next person I was going to ask about. Member of the Seattle Seahawks, just won a Super Bowl to your point, and he scored a touchdown in the NFC Championship game, which was super awesome. I was telling a bunch of kids at the school that I was like, yeah, like, 6 degrees of separation kind of thing. Like this dude, he played up in them leagues, and I will definitely say, so when we found out you were coming to PA, like, we're like, all right, like, classic, like, let's throw the huddle on. And you're connecting to this guy a lot, but, he was never really super fast. He got a lot of flack. I think he ran like the second slowest 40 or whatever in history. And he was never really super fast. But he definitely seems like one of those dudes who's got like that it factor to him. So what was it that led to you guys being able to connect that helped you guys hoist the NEPSAC trophy while you were at Belmont Hill? And then maybe talk about anything else, like transition wise between Belmont and PA. Cause we were playing very different football in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think first of all on Jake, like just an absolute like technician workhorse. He's got the best routes you can possibly have. Like, footwork is insane. Just loves the game too. Like just enjoys himself every single time he's out on the field. And like, you got to have that if you're going to grind and like make it to the next level. And he had that like in spades. It was awesome to see. And, always like dragging me out there to go throw with him because he just wants to get some extra work and, obviously helping me out. Going to Andover, I was super psyched. It's obviously a really renowned school but I knew that the transition was going to be a little bit different because football hadn't been as strong there. Lacrosse had up years and some down years. And so I knew there was a ton of potential. We had some great kids coming in too. We had, you had been starting there for a few years, and then Max Biotti coming in, who was going to Brown, and then Junior Almeida, who was coming in, who, was going to Notre Dame to play lacrosse. Bob O'Donnell, who I think is a totally underrated football player. ended up getting a ton of playing time at Sacred Heart after being recruited as like a punter, I'm pretty sure, onto the team, and then ended up starting at linebacker. But we had Coach Modesti, absolute legend, who had been at PA for 30 years at the time. And I kind of lucked out a little bit because he was at the tail end of his run and he knew I was coming in and had a ton of experience playing. And I was so pumped because he kind of gave the reins to me and was like, hey, like you kind of have the power to call plays, do what you want to do with this offense, like audible at the line, stuff that I never had, the ability to do at Belmont Hill. And having that freedom and then having a bunch of older guys who knew what they were doing around me made that transition super easy and just made it a ton of fun to play football at PA. Like we had such a great year that year and I think bonded a ton with that group because the way that the coaches, gave us the freedom to be who we were as players, what suited everyone best. It was just a good fit for everyone. And I think led to the kind of turnaround and success that we ended up having that year. I think the only thing that was disappointing was we were starting to do well. And I was like, where's the school? Can everyone like get behind us a little bit? They all end up showing up for like the Phillips Exeter game, the Andover Exeter game, of course. But, I think that was a little bit different from Belmont Hill where like, hey, a Saturday football game, every single thing was focused on that. Like the whole school would show up. Saturday football game at Andover, if it was a big game, like we get some heads there for sure. But, people would pop in, pop out, but still just a ton of fun that year. Great stepping into football right away. Also, I made a ton of friends right away on campus, being a new guy there. So really enjoyed that whole experience. And I mean, I'll never forget that year in Andover for sure.
Yeah, you chronicled that year almost perfectly. Like we had a very like diverse team, like talent wise. Like we had dudes that kind of do a little bit of everything and not a lot of dudes that had actually played together. The two things obviously like really, really stick out to me. I mean, more than two things, but just for the sake of this, two things. One would be when we played Exeter, obviously, like you said, everyone got up for that game, but we were dying, and our whole, like, our DB room was just like absolutely banged up. So you played a lot of that game at deep safety and you got 2 picks that game.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, you know what I'm saying? It was one of those, you just gotta go with it. I mean, there was at one point you, Fahey and Sam Conti were all back there at the same time. All 3 people who I'd at one point seen play quarterback. You know what I'm saying? It was, we had a lot of makeshift stuff going on, that I think like if we had, a little bit of the crowd backing more, like that would have kind of like helped feed into that. And like, I think when we beat Suffield, like that to me was like a turning point game. I mean, they had Tyler Van Dyke at quarterback who played a good amount of time in college and they had a really, really good team. But the other thing that sticks out was I think when we played Worcester, we had, Will Litton, good player. He was injured. He transferred to us from Wilton, Connecticut or something like that. So he's injured. So Adam Cohen, who's a linebacker, not a lot of finesse. He's playing straight up tailback. I mean, he's played ace, he's played fullback, but he's playing straight up tailback. And we just kind of made it work. But that game, we scored 6 touchdowns and you audibled at the line for 3 of them. I remember that very, very specifically because I was just like, how? I was like, I don't know what you're seeing over there. You know what I'm saying? But it just worked. And like you said, like it was a really, really special year. Bitter ending, but it was a great year. It was just a great year. And I'm glad we could have that. You know what I'm saying? Shout out Coach Mo. Like you said, that was his second to last year. I think the year after that, that's when they had had the one Mo game shirts and all of that. You know what I'm saying? He went out swinging. So kind of going from PA, you had from our football season, you guys did have like a, I don't know how you would categorize your lacrosse season, but I will say like you had firepower on the field. You know what I'm saying? Like you guys had dudes who were going places, guys who could do things. And even then, like your speed kind of translated. I'm going to get to in a second how they were calling you Devin Hester and all of that for the chaos. But when you get to Georgetown, I mean, you guys roll the Big East a few times. You appear in 50, 60 games. GB King. Do you have a moment that sticks out to you in college lacrosse?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for shouting out Adam Cohen. That guy was an absolute freaking savage
Nah,
out
he was a freak.
on the
Like, he
field.
was a freak. He was a freak. I have to say that.
Yeah,
He was a freak.
I mean, I forgot him. I forgot to name him, and he was probably our best player that year. He made every single tackle. It was insane. Ended up playing at UCLA. For anyone that doesn't know of Adam Cohen, but absolute tank of a football player. But yeah, I mean, Georgetown was a great experience for me. I kind of got lucky where I was recruited. They were kind of down as a program. I wasn't a huge recruit. Was just super psyched to be going to Georgetown. And kind of caught an upward trajectory in a program that was kind of turning around. And I think the biggest thing for me was they'd come off of my post grad year at Andover. They had won the Big East championship, the first time ever that they had won the Big East championship. Had my senior year at Belmont Hill, junior year at Belmont Hill, they'd gone 2-14 and like 4-10 those 2 years. End up coming up winning the Big East my PG year at Andover. Get there my freshman year, and it's kind of like, okay, like, are we going to take that next step as a program, or are we just going to kind of be back to mediocre and like fighting for a shot to maybe make the Big East tournament and hopefully go on to the NCAA tournament that year? Winning the Big East championship that year just set us up so well going forward. It was like, okay, we're not just like a 1 year fluke. Like, we're in this every single year. We got some guys coming up that are young players that are getting playing time. I think my freshman class, there's 5 guys who ended up starting right away, 5 guys that end up becoming All-Americans at some point throughout their career. And so having that first win freshman year against Denver out on their home field, winning the Big East championship, that was huge. We ended up going and playing a Yale team, who kind of they beat the doors off of us, honestly, in the first round of the NCAA tournament. But we made it close at the end. They ended up going to the national championship, and it just made us feel like, hey, we kind of belong in this conversation. And then as we move forward, and unfortunately COVID year kind of messed up the next year, but like going forward was like, okay, we know that we're one of these teams that's in the mix for, a quarterfinals, Final Four type of team every single year. But I really point back to that first Big East championship where it was like, okay, we solidified ourselves kind of as a nationally recognized program within college lax.
Yeah, you're hearing a lot of notes there. You guys definitely had like that period of growth, and it was like steady, but it was also there was like signature moments along the way. Going to being the program like Denver, perennial powerhouse program. I wouldn't even have this on here, but I do kind of notice there are ways in which the PLO is not very big, and so like college is enormous, and there's obviously guys who kind of have a lot more freedom in college to have a little swag out there. Obviously systems make a difference who you're being coached by and who you play with. Is there anybody who you played against in college that just like blew your mind where you were like, you're ridiculous at this thing that we are all playing at the same time?
Yeah, no, I mean, right away, my freshman year, we played a kid, Pat Spencer from Loyola, who now is playing on the Golden State Warriors. He won the Tewaaraton that year. We played him. I think Loyola was #1 in the country at the time. We were probably like top 15. This is towards the end of my freshman year, and he just lit us up. We were throwing every single type of defense at him. Like, we ended up at one point literally taking a long pole and just sticking it on him and locking him off the entire time, which, like, with a long pole, you do that with a short stick like me sometimes. Doing that with a long pole on a kid is like, okay, you're basically just admitting that, like, we can't stop this guy and we need to do something about it. So he totally like welcome to freaking college lacrosse. Like, this guy is a man amongst boys. He's gonna do whatever he wants out on the field, and there's nothing that you can do to stop it. And of course, the dude's a freak athlete. Like, ends up going having a career in basketball, playing at Northwestern, and then now has made his way onto the Warriors roster. And so, but then there's guys who I play with now, like Jared Bernard, Brendan O'Neill, Pat Kavanaugh, that are guys that just like in college were obviously moving different than everyone else was too. And, but I mean, Pat and then Jared, I'd say like stick out above the rest of just being like unbelievable athletes and great lacrosse players. Jared ended up going to play for a couple of years on the Atlanta Falcons from Maryland. He also won the Tewaaraton there. Now is on the Outlaws with me today. So a couple guys that were just, they were athletes who happened to pick lacrosse as their main sport in college and then had success professionally in other sports too, just to show how versatile they are, not just like stick skills or anything. Like, they're freak athletes themselves. And, running sub 4.40s and can jump like Pat Spencer had like a 40-inch vertical, can like jump through the roof. It's insane. So, yeah, those two guys I'd say really stuck out.
Yeah, great picks. I mean, it's funny. You're probably the least surprised. You see he's blown up a lot with Pat Spencer now. All the posts, all of the mainstream outlets are like catching on. And you're probably like, yeah, I know. Like,
Yeah,
you're like, yeah, like
exactly.
it's old news. This is old news. Like, this is a little transition into the next question, but like, it's related, right? Like there's levels to everything. And obviously lacrosse, as someone that was pretty new to the sport, like going into high school, and then going to a school, like the first year I was at Andover, that was like the quote unquote like golden year or whatever. Like, I mean, they had like
Yeah, yeah.
14 college players on the team or something like that. And then they had like a really crazy freshman class to kind of add to it. And I got to watch Ryder Garnsey play lacrosse in real life. You know what I'm saying? At the high school level when he was already like, it's like you beat the game. It's like you play like Mario Kart or something. You beat the game and now you're just like doing stuff. I mean, he had like 120 points and it was just easy. And so I say all that to say like when our year of high school, 2017, like 18, the PLL as we know it now did not exist, right? Like the numbers as far as professional lacrosse were different, and as far as like sustainability and as far as when and where and all those things. And so I'm sure like in your mind, you're thinking I can be a professional, but you're also at Georgetown, which is a phenomenal school. And you did shout out Bob. Bob's a great football player. I love you, Bob. You got to get on the pod. I got to watch Bob play against Howard when he was at Sacred Heart, but Bob was one of the PGs and PG classes. You know what I'm saying? He was in Roxford Jocks, Geddes was in a couple of more academic classes. So I say that to say like, when did you really think like, I mean, you got drafted in the first round, so I'm sure you were like, okay, like I'm gonna go. But before that, were you getting intel that you were gonna get drafted that high, or were you trying to like line up, your postgraduate steps from a LinkedIn perspective?
Yeah, no, I was definitely kind of doing both at the same time, really tracking both, seeing what was going to happen. And, I still like, unfortunately, lacrosse isn't yet at the position where people are just doing that full time. So I'm working a job as well while I'm doing everything. So it was definitely trying to line up both at the same time and see what happened. But, I was lucky. My assistant coach at the time at Georgetown, I had the option to go back and take a fifth year. I'd already done a PG year. I was like pushing like 25, graduating anyways. And, so I was like, probably not the best thing for me to take a fifth year, probably need to move on. And, I did my 5 years of high school, did my 4 years of college, but I had that option, was definitely considering it a lot. And, early on in my senior year, the coach of the Chaos, Andy Towers, spoke to Jack Rellett, who's to this day one of the best players on the Chaos, and at the time was an assistant at Georgetown. He, kind of said to me like, hey, I've been talking to Towers, like, seems like we're going to pick you at some point in the draft, TBD when. And then, a couple of weeks went by and he's like, I think he's thinking about like, we have the eighth pick, like that might be the spot where we grab you. And I was like, okay. So I had that in the back of my head as this whole like decision making process was going on. And thinking like, hey, do I just like go play pro? Like I have this option, like then I don't have to take a fifth year. I had a job lined up too. And, I think eventually it just came down to the fact that, I was ready to move on, and it was kind of the right move for me at the time. But yeah, I kind of had that in the background. It's, definitely my freshman, sophomore year. I'm sitting there like, oh, I'm just hoping, I can contribute to this team and we can have success. And then, junior year and starting to think like, okay, maybe like we can have like a good run here as a team, like not really thinking about the PLL. And, the PLL starts to catch on a little bit more, and it grows, and you start to hear, there's more people getting involved in like the rumor mill, and you start to see your name get thrown around with guys that may be going to play. And then you like start thinking, okay, like, yeah, I really want to do this. Would be awesome, because you don't want to get too far ahead of yourself at any point. But, then my senior year, kind of having that, forewarning from Rowlett, and being able to kind of make a plan and a decision based on that was super helpful. But it's getting like nowadays they've already like published like draft boards from last year for this year and everything. Like it wasn't quite at that level yet, but was certainly, you saw like the pattern of it all growing, and they've done a great job kind of getting all the media infrastructure in the background behind the PLL started here, and hopefully it continues to grow.
Yeah, the game has definitely grown. And just hearing you chronicle that, like, it sounds so sensible. Like, it sounds like it's exactly kind of how it should go. You're like, yeah, I found this out. I got intel. I got advice. Like, I got, you know, reasonable consultation. That's just not your reality now. I mean, if you were coming out now, like, you probably would use your fifth year and you'd probably go to like UVA. And then after that,
Yeah.
like, then, I don't know, but there would be too many people who want their hand in the pot because it's transfer stuff and all of the money that sometimes some of the college guys have access to. It's just crazy. But like, yeah, your story, like that sounds like it makes sense. Like that sounds like something that kind of should have happened.
No, you're
Hopefully, okay.
no, you're totally right. Like the game has changed so much. Like then it was like you would definitely see a bunch of transfers going around in different places, but it was typically like guys who didn't get a ton of playing time, like maybe one or two guys each year who'd like been contributors on their team that ended up transferring somewhere else. But now you see it like every single year, guys are transferring. There's, lacrosse, it's not like big money getting thrown around, but if you're a college kid and you can get like an extra $10,000 to have in your back pocket, like that's awesome. That lasts you 2 years. Like
Yeah.
you don't need that much money to go do something on a Saturday night. But, it's changed so much now. And, yeah, like you wouldn't see decision making the way that it was done. Like, so many guys, that COVID year were seniors and they just like graduated and didn't end up coming back. And like now you see pretty much every single kid that has the opportunity to take a fifth year, like they're doing it and they're going somewhere and trying to make the most out of it, which is probably smart. It was just a different time back then for sure.
For sure, definitely different. It feels like it changed so quickly. So, like within the blink of an eye. The PLL recently called you the Devin Hester of transition offense, while you were playing for Carolina. Everyone's talking about the speed and I've seen it firsthand. But it takes more than that to be an all-pro at the short stick D mid position. Definitely a lunch pail worker kind of position. So talk to us about the mentality. What's the mentality going in? Cause you're the Swiss Army knife out there.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely one of those positions like cornerback in football. It's like you're not really going to get a ton of love unless something goes wrong. Typically, it's like you're getting scored on or whatever. And so you just kind of have to have that mindset where like you're just going to get up and make the next play no matter what happens. Like you're the weakest link by definition on the defense. You're not holding a 6-foot pole. You have the short stick. Every offense is going to attack you. You're going to get scored on most games, if not all games, in terms of in some capacity, whether it's like off ball or you could have been there, you could have slid, or you just get beat one-on-one and he takes to the cage. And it's kind of like having that, all right, next play mentality is so huge. And then, I think finding other ways to contribute out there, like whether or not you're going to pick up a ton of ground balls or you're going to play, outside of just playing lockdown defense, like you're going to play great off ball defense or, you're going to be awesome in transition and, contribute on the offensive end. You kind of got to, when you get to the PLL, like find that other thing. Cause I say this about the PLL all the time. Like everyone has like, I would say like a major and a minor. Like there's one thing that they're insanely good at. They have one skill set that, is just like, they've been doing it for years. No one can really stop it because it's too good. And then the guys who really succeed in the PLL are the ones who have that type of move and then, or just like quality to them. And then they have something else where they're like almost as good at that one skill as they are. Like if they're a great shooter, they're also an unbelievable passer too. They're great on defense. They're great off the ground as well. So you see that kind of growth and then having that mindset of like, okay, focusing on something else or like building another skill set or just being a good lacrosse player so that you can do other things other than whatever that one skill set is that you're really good at. That's what makes the difference with guys who I see have long-term careers in the PLL. It's like, I'm trying to think of a guy like Brendan O'Neill. He's so good at so many things. So he's probably a bad example, but like unbelievable shooter, but can also just like get downhill and run by a guy and score too. So that's impossible to stop as a defense. You're like, we can't like let this guy breathe because he'll just step down and shoot. But if we get up to crowd him as well, he's just going to freaking blow by me and go to the cage. So, I think uniquely as a D midi, it's like you can have some qualitative things where it's just like you out hustle people, you out grind people that can keep you on the field for a long time. But that's just really the nature of that position. And so, definitely a different mindset at D midi. You gotta, take some bruises along the way, but if you're able to kind of flush that away and make the next play, you'll have a lot of success. So.
Yes, it's fascinating to watch like I guess like the like hybrid kind of positions in lacrosse as someone that doesn't never played it for real and like again
Yeah.
like didn't like was introduced for real in high school. Like the D midi position and like the long stick midi position like are very interesting to me and again like it takes a particular skill set to be successful at those. But you're definitely right about like staying power in the PLL because it's this again, like the math is just what it is. There's so many guys who are talented enough, I think to contribute. And there's so many guys who might have been maybe like long standing veterans in different professional leagues who are now like, I want to go here and I should be able to go here kind of thing. But there's only a finite amount of spots. And so it's like, how do I maximize what I can do for a team, on a day to day? Just a couple more questions here. Which was cooler to you, being able to don the USA jersey or being able to hoist a championship in the league?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about the championship, right? Like that's the coolest thing ever. I mean, um, but arguably right up there too is being able to represent your country. It's probably the greatest honor you can have in any sport is getting to, be on that USA team. And, I've been fortunate enough to get to play a few games for the USA team. And, I think it's different where, a championship is such like a team oriented thing where, you can be a small part of that, but feels so much gratification just being a part of a culture in a locker room. Like even if you're not contributing a ton on the field or you're in and out of the lineup, like just being a part of that locker room and that group and, being at the top of your game in that way is such an honor. And then, the USA thing it's more of an individual thing, but you also got to fit in on a team like that. Like it's interesting because like you get to the highest level, there's so many good players, but if you're not a good teammate, if you're not doing what's best for the team at all times, like coaches can read through like kind of BS of like, yeah, he's a great player, but like, is he going to be a positive influence on our locker room? And, I think it's certainly in like when you get to like the 10 to like 20 guys, like there's obviously 10 guys that like skill wise are obviously going to make the team, but then it becomes a lot about like fit. How do you fit into the culture? How do you fit into the scheme? How do you and the coach like interact? Like, are you and the coach, like when he's giving you instruction, like, are you relaying that to the team and like making it positive for everyone? Or are you kind of taking that and like being selfish with it? And all those little things matter a ton. So, you think like, oh, USA, it's very individual, but a lot of the guys that I play with on that are like the best teammates as well, or they're the hardest workers. So, certainly a huge honor and, it's hard to choose between the two. So honestly, I don't know if I could really pick, but it both are great honors. And, yeah, playing USA versus Canada in a game there's nothing better than that. And, unfortunately I'm 0 for 3 against them so far. So I got to change that up at some point.
You'll get a chance to right the ship. Lacrosse is growing not only domestically but globally as well. I actually have a coworker who plays for the Italian national team, and so she's kind of in early talks, kind of prepping for the 28 Olympics. I'm super excited for her, and again just kind of like seeing the game continue to grow. What goals do you have for the upcoming year? Obviously, you're now with the Denver Outlaws, and you talked a little bit about what your quote unquote off season looks like as far as working another job as well. So what are some Zach Geddes goals for the upcoming year?
Yeah, so we're playing in a couple weeks here. The PLL does the championship series, which is it's the Olympic style lacrosse. The PLL teams do a little tournament in the Olympic style. So I have that coming up here in 2 weeks with the Outlaws. And, first off, like winning a championship in that, it's a quick little like 2 weekend tournament. That'd be a great way to start off the year. And then, we lost last year in the championship, unfortunately. And, we, our goal this year is to go and win that. And so those are really the two for the Denver Outlaws. And then, just in having fun with this, it's been such a cool experience and, getting to make the most out of it and just enjoy getting to play lacrosse a few more years. Like that's always a goal every year is just to enjoy every second of it. And I'm going to Japan actually with the PLL and in like a month here. I'm actually leaving a month from today. And we're gonna go like do a little like grow the game trip in Japan and teach some, coach some kids up and play against the Japanese team out there in a Olympic style game. So, just enjoying things like that, understanding how privileged I am to be a part of it and get these opportunities. And so, that's really the third goal is like go win a couple championships with the Outlaws and then, just enjoy the season, getting to play, getting to be a part of a locker room. Like all of that is so much fun. And, I'm 27 years old, so still having the opportunity to do that is quite a joy. So.
Yeah, man. Most 27-year-olds, like we mentioned, are playing college sports right now. So the fact that you're out here, working real jobs and in all seriousness, like you've accomplished so much in a short amount of time, but you've just been able to see a lot. I'm sure like you could literally write a book about all you've kind of been able to see and all the places you've been able to go. So hats off to you. You know what I'm saying? Perfect guest, I think, to get us back cracking at episode 63, season 3, starting back. Now this is your podcast. This is your turn, ask any questions you like. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. So I'd love to hear, kind of the question I was thinking about asking you is, you go from Andover down to Howard in DC. Like, I'd love to hear about your experience on the team there. Being in DC, I was also in DC at Georgetown, like what your experience in DC was like. I know it's a great city. Love visiting, loved my time down there, but just love to hear about, kind of what that was like. You played a unique like schedule, tracks all year round. It's quite the commitment. I mean, you're also a thrower, probably lifting heavy, doing all these things that much different from what my, like training regimen was just because of the nature of our sports. Like it's very different, unique. So dude, would love to hear about like what that experience was like overall, just in general about sports, but then also like socially, DC, how you guys use the city as well. Like that'd be great.
That's an awesome question. So yeah, like culturally, DC is super rich. Like it's just cool because it's got so many different pockets. I used to go to like Wizard games a lot, and then like their Chinatown is kind of right by where the Wizards play. So there's like so many great restaurants out there. Like I've been with friends and like my mom would visit me because it wasn't too far from New York. So like culturally, the city is super cool. A lot of people liken it to New York. It's definitely like one thing is like you feel like how landlocked it is, and like you feel like, I mean, you went to Georgetown, so like Georgetown's super hilly, right? Like the metro system's slightly different than New York because New York, like you can, if you live on, let's say 25th Street, like I can get exactly there, on the metro. But then in DC, like the metro runs for certain hours and then there's only like 6 or 8 lines. So like you're going to kind of get in a ballpark. You might have to walk a little, whatever. Like, but those are like just kind of like the differences, I noticed off bat, like socially, culturally, with Washington DC. But then like team wise, like I just had to develop mental toughness, in a way that I just hadn't done before in my life. Like I was just really blessed that I was always, gifted academically, which is kind of what led me to Andover. Cause I mean, I went there for 4 years, like from New York, like I went there on full academic ride and I was blessed enough to be a part of just a lot of stuff at Andover, see a lot of people on their journeys and stuff. But like when I was on the team at Howard, our coach over there, David Oliver, I actually got him on the show, which I'm still super like stoked that I really got him on there cause he's a world champion in the 110 hurdles and he represented America in the golden era of men's hurdling. But he's a tough dude when it comes to running the program. Like he knows what he wants, like, and he went to the school. So it's different when you have like an alum run a program because you can't make any excuses. Like you can be like, oh, well, we don't have this. And he'll be like, well, 20 years ago, like we had less of that. You know what I'm saying? Like you just couldn't make any excuses with Dio. When we like started, kind of when I got there, I would definitely say mediocre, on both sides, boys and girls within our conference. The year before I got there, the men's team indoors scored 1 point at the conference championships. And then since then, I think again, Dio took that personal, but it's just interesting to watch him, build a program as someone that now coaches the sport. Like everyone does different things in track and field. So you have to know how to like support, like I'm a thrower. You have to know how to support like a sprinter or a pole vaulter without them feeling like you're overstepping. Cause I also, at the end of the day, don't know nothing about pole vaulting for real, but like you're on a team. So how do you kind of like unite the team? And then one thing that like to the mental toughness, bit, like my sophomore year, I was elected captain of our group. And like that was like a funny pair of shoes to wear because I felt like I hadn't earned it yet. And so like I had to earn it every day. And I felt like I earned it every day. And then like parts of that, it's just like the contract you sign, like we throw in high school, we throw shot put discus, but in college, like I was primarily like hammer weight. So like hammer, you have the ball on the end of the wire and it's 16 pounds and you get dizzy, like it's grueling, right? But then weight is 35 pounds. So that is like, I mean, we had tons of dudes get back problems and, you're getting treatment like 3 times a week sometimes to just kind of be out there. But it's like the camaraderie. Like I think what's great about everyone being in a small group is you kind of get that locker room feeling within your small group. But then you also get it within the whole team. So like everybody when I was a senior, like the group that we had my senior year, every single person in the group, was either a medalist in our conference or was a champion in our conference or a school record holder. And so like that didn't just happen overnight. Like we just all kind of bonded through what we had to do on a day to day. And now, I mean, it's great because there were 4 people that I was teammates with in college who are pros now, like they're on the pro circuit. And so like that shows you the kind of program Coach Oliver is trying to build, like from, the men's team scoring 1 point at the conference championships in 2018 to now having 4 professionals, have multiple All-Americans, academic All-Americans. So the program's in a different spot now. I'm just blessed I was able to be a part of it, on the early side, of things.
Yeah, man. Well, it sounds like your coach like set a great culture and like, he had expectations. He knew how to be excellent from his own career and then, was able to translate that. Have you thought about that at all with your own coaching career? Like, do you try and emulate was it David Oliver is his
Yeah.
name?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dio's
trying
the
to
guy.
emulate him.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard because you don't want to try to like take what someone does naturally and then try to make it something you do. Cause it's like they're not
Yeah.
trying to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like I definitely do take a lot from them, like logistically and organizationally, from like that standpoint. But then as far as, like leading your group through some drills or like coaching kids at meets, cause with throwing, it's like, it's like you get X amount of attempts, right? So you have to be able to coach someone like during an attempt, between an attempt, and then not let them see someone right in front of them, maybe just throw a bomb and just get in their head like that. That happens all the time. I mean, we never had to throw at a meet against AJ in high school, thank God, because he didn't throw at the one meet that he was at, he didn't throw. But there was this kid from Concord Academy named Sam Welsh who had never thrown in his life. And then his junior year, he just like made it for some reason. He just like wanted to throw. And his first track meet, he threw 184 and he threw it at our place. And we were just like, who is this? And like that, I mean, that is something that will happen at any level of throwing where somebody will go right before you. They might have the throw of their life. They're screaming and, slapping five with their coach and everything. And you just have to lock in and do what you do. And so like those are the kind of things that like I've had to kind of just take more so from my experience as a thrower. But also Bernieri, dude. I'm so sorry I didn't even mention the GOAT, coach Bernieri, who was my line coach in high school and just like, English teacher at Andover. He retired a couple years ago, but he's a dude that, he played at Harvard and like he was very, very pivotal, like my understanding of, when to like throttle up your training and when to like just trust what you can do and just perform. So I would say like a combination of both of those guys have kind of informed how I coach.
Yeah, man. Nice. And I guess my last question too is like, you've had quite the like overall experience. You come from New York, you go up to Andover, you go down to Howard, like you have a successful career there. You're a captain your sophomore year. Like, how do do you feel kind of advantaged when you're helping these young kids like figure out their journey, like going on to college, like, they're going to Episcopal, like a great school down in Houston. Like, how do you kind of use your own experience to basically help, mentor these up and coming athletes? Like, I mean, for me, that's got to be the coolest part of your job to be able to like have an influence like that. But I got to think that, you've had such a, diverse set of experiences in your life and like been kind of all over the place from like a athletic academic standpoint. Like, how does your experience continue to like guide you, and what are like kind of the points that you kind of harp on to the kids that you're coaching?
That's a great question too. I mean, our team, football, we play like a pretty competitive group, especially most recently, like our new coaches mentality is just like we'll play anybody kind of thing. And so our team's got to understand like no one's coming to save you, right? Like whoever you have in the room is who you have to lean on. And I think that that's something that I saw, at lots of points in my like athletic life, whether it was just like you're on the playground, like 8, 9, 10 years old, or whether you're watching your buddies play in a state game, like they are leaning on each other in real life. The coach is not out there making the athletic plays for them. Their mom can't do it. Their dad can't do it. They can talk it, talk a big game when you guys are on the side, but it's about like rising to that occasion. And then like another piece of it too, kind of going off the pro bit, and obviously you fall into this yourself, as a professional athlete, like everybody I know who's a pro is very humble. Every single person. Like, I don't know a single person who has gone professional in a sport who at any given point in time, like takes the opportunity to make it all about themselves, because at the end of the day, like I told my group of throwers, like now, like the drawing board is always there. Like you can win the championship. You can be the worst team. Like you can have a great day. Like you're going to have to go and you're just going to have to fix something. You're going to have to course correct. Like, I'm really glad that when I was in college, I was able to have the weight throw school record. I thought that was like a goal I kind of set for myself personally. And I achieved it after like a weird time, right, with COVID. Like I kind of stepped away from being able to compete on the day to day and all this stuff with COVID. And then I achieved this goal 3 or 4 years later. And then my teammate broke it a week and a half later, right? And I feel like that was like a lesson that I tell my kids a lot too, because I'm like, yeah, I wasn't mad at it that he broke it, like, but it's also like I did achieve this goal, but it didn't save me from anything. It wasn't a Grammy, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't an Oscar, like it was a goal I set, like I achieved it, and then I went back to work, and then my teammate who was also working kind of side by side, like he achieved this, I was happy for him, and then because the two of us were working how we did, like we both shared the podium when it came to, compete a couple weeks later in the conference championship. So it's always about like leaning on the person around you, like harping on what you bring to the table and like not trying to minimize that just to let other people's like skill set fit in, because everyone's skill set is valuable. And then that last bit, like the humility, I'm really going through in my brain now, because I do know a good amount of people who are professional athletes across a wide variety of sports, and like the best of the best are always like just very, very, kind of humble, day to day. How can I improve kind of people? So that's what I try to instill in them. And we're actually about to get started this upcoming week. We got a pair of track meets, so I'm hoping to put up some nice numbers, but also, try to keep myself cool, because I get excited too as a coach. I mean, we like to win. So yeah.
Yeah, man. No, those are some great points, and good luck with the upcoming season, man. That should be a ton of fun. About to get real busy for you.
Nah, I'm knowing, man. You too, man. You're about to be international. So yeah, good luck to you on the upcoming stuff. And I appreciate it. This is episode 63, season 3, episode 1. Any shout outs before we get out of here?
Just got to shout out all the Andover guys. I see Max Biotti around here. We had such a great time. I went to college with Andrew Antonucci, a guy who, unsung athlete at Andover, unbelievable football, lacrosse player. We shouted out a bunch of the other guys already, but, we had a great group there. It's cool that, I've been able to stay tight with some guys. Cool that you can hit me up anytime and we can catch up, have a good time. And, so, I'm thankful for that experience, and thank you again, man. Appreciate you having me on. Been a ton of fun catching up, and, good luck with everything this season. And, I got to start getting on. What are you guys on, like GoFan or anything? NSHS? Like, how am I going to stream these games going forward now?
I can get you. We're on Huddle Fan. We're on Huddle Fan. So
all right, cool.
We'll play the Friday Night Lights on Huddle Fan. Everybody at home, man. I'll echo that. Shout out to all the Andover guys. Shout out to you, for getting us rocking here. And that's all we have, episode 63.